Hi, this is Lisa from Health and Whole Life, and I want to share with you today just a reminder, folks, about this time of pandemic that we're in. It is now May 2020, and this officially started in February, but technically started in January. And so there are some things that I have been seeing, and I just want to share with folks. And just as a reminder, people, please be safe. Remember to follow the guidelines. And some of the ways that you can keep your self healthy, is following the guidelines by wearing a mask, making sure that it's covered up over your nose. I've seen people with their mask, just using this tissue as an example, the mask down here, the mask right here, then people wearing the mask under here and thinking that, oh, well, they only need to wear the mask if they're passing somebody on the sidewalk, or if, they're going into the store and they don't need to wear it when they're getting out of their car to go into the store. Listen, folks, you need to have the mask on, okay? It stands to be wise and understand that if a cold, people like to tell folks, if you have a cold, stay home. So you don't pass it on to people when you're coming out, or don't come to work if you have a cold. If you have a flu, they want you to stay home. They don't want you giving it to anybody else. They don't want you passing your germs. This is much more highly contagious than the flu and then a cold. It is not some type of scheme that it's not real. It's real. It's necessary. You have to take even further precautions than you would than if you had a cold and had the flu, because it's much more highly contagious than the flu and then the cold. So then what should you be doing? You should be wearing a mask to cover your face. If you don't have a mask, and it should cover your nose, it should cover under here, then you get a cloth, a material, and you tie it around and use that. You need it when you're on the street, not just when you're passing somebody on the street. You need it when you're in the store. You need it when you're around other people outside your home, period. Okay? Period. There is no excuse. There's no excuse for anybody. And I know that there were, in the beginning, them saying, oh, well, you don't have to worry about children. How? What do you mean you don't have to worry about children? If it's more highly contagious than a cold and then the flu, you don't wait until you get a report that something happened to a child in order to tell people, go ahead and put the mask on the child, which is what they're doing. That's just good, godly common sense that God gave us. Use your good God common sense He gave you. If it's highly contagious, you put it on the child. You don't need to wait for the CDC. You don't need to wait for the president. You don't need to wait for the governor, because if your child has a cold and you catch it from your child, you caught that from your child. And if you have a cold and you pass it on to your child, the child has caught it from you. And these are times where this is highly contagious. It's a pandemic. It's across the world. And there are different things that they're finding about it as they go on. Now, they didn't know everything about it. And for those who do know more about it, they've waited later to share. But it's not just about checking for a temperature. It's not just about whether you cough. The symptoms are coming slowly of what is happening. Some of the new that has arisen is if you have diarrhea, if you have lesions, and they've seen mostly in young children and the youth. They've seen the lesions on the feet, on the toes. Okay, so you need to be mindful. So these parents who are walking around with masks on their face and their children don't have it, if your child is over 2, and I would say even if your child is not over 2, because you don't know what's going to happen with infants. Protect your children. It's highly contagious. Why would you leave your child, a newborn, unexposed? Okay? If it wasn't so bad, then mothers who are having children wouldn't be separated from their child when the child is born during this time, if it wasn't contagious. All right, there's an issue there. That's just good common sense. So please do that. All right, protect the children. They are valuable. Don't treat them like, oh, they're just an extra hang along for your convenience, and, you love them, but, it's more important for you to make sure that you're safe. It's important to make sure everybody is safe, be it child or adult, whether senior or not senior. It's a farce and it's a lie that it's only affecting people who are 50 or over. Anybody can get it, okay? Because an infant has already died from COVID-19. A teenager has already died from COVID-19. A young person in their 20s has already died from COVID-19, all right? If it's highly contagious, you're a human being. Why are you taking the chance or being in a way of prideful? Ignorance or arrogance will get us into trouble. And it's not necessary. Save yourself the trouble. Save yourself and your family the turmoil and the heartache and the pain from having to deal with the fact that you did not protect yourself or protect your children, or you may have been asymptomatic, not even knowing it, which means you're a carrier without having any symptoms at all. So you're walking around without a mask, breathing in the air and being outside and thinking that just because you're outside and not inside of a building in close space, that you're okay. No, you're breathing outside. And so as you breathe and pass along the street, all that breath, and even if you open your mouth to talk, all of that's coming out of your mouth. All right. This is a pandemic, and germs that also connect onto the clothes, not just the surface of counters or cardboards or metal. So it's important that when you come home, you take off your clothes, or you spray your clothes before you come in. You wash your hands, and you make sure you clean off your items with a disinfectant when you bring them home from the grocery store. Everybody and anybody and their mother could have been touching those. You don't know. And there are times where you touch things and you may touch your mask and not even realize you just put more germs on your mask, not paying attention to it. All right. So make sure that you're doing that. Wear the face coverings, put them on the children, put them on the infants, put them on yourself. Make sure you wear gloves. If you don't have gloves, take a napkin or a handkerchief and use it when you're touching things in the store. Don't make the assumption that every single item in the store has been sprayed down and has been disinfected, because it's not. Because you're pulling items off of the counter. Like I said, you don't know who touched that, even from where it came from, being shipped in a box. Okay? So just be mindful of that. You can also make sure that you get enough rest. It's important that we get the proper amount of sleep. 8 hours and 10 hours is good. Sleeping 7 hours, you're just cutting it. But the 8 hours is good because it helps your immune system to be built up healthy. And going to bed by 10 o'clock, because between 10 and 2 is the only time that our body heals itself in specific ways. Okay? In specific ways. And it doesn't happen again beyond that time. So you can't say, oh, well, I'll make it up and my body will heal. Not in that specific way. Okay, there's a restoration that happens to the whole body system that takes place between 10 and 2. If you miss it, you miss it. So it is good to go to bed, early to rise. Keep a routine. Have good, create an atmosphere where there is good sound music. Okay? And I'm talking about music that is soothing. I'm not talking about filled with profanity and perversion and cruel humor and all of that stuff. All of that stuff, whether you believe it or not, affects your spirit. All right? Because there's always a spirit behind the music or songs that people sing and people play. Because we are spirits, and spirits relate to spirits. And there's an unseen realm that is a spiritual realm that even witches know, who are part of that realm that caused that havoc, and the angels of God who are operating in that realm of the spirit. So you can actually cause yourself to have even more detriment and trouble because of the type of atmosphere that you're setting. And people know this practically, because there are times where you could go into a place and you would say, something's not right in this place. Something feels strange. That is your spirit connecting with whatever the strange spirit is in that place. That's reality, folks. It's not a fake. Everything that you see with your eyes is not believing. You need to know that there's an unseen realm that's operating around us every day, every second, and it's either the kingdom of darkness or the kingdom of light, which comes from God. And always know this, whether you are a believer in God or not, it is so. It doesn't discount it. It doesn't make it any less true or less valuable. The spiritual realm is real, whether you believe it or not. And you believing that it's real or not does not mean that it's not going to work or operate around you. That's not how that works. Okay? Every single day, we are making choices based on what comes out of our mouth, what we see with our eyes, what we hear with our ears. These are spiritual gates that have the entry, that spiritual realm has the entry into our home, into our lives, whether we believe it or not, and is operating in and around us. That's why people, when they sense something is wrong in a place and they don't know what it is, it's the spiritual realm that is operating. That's what you're sensing, okay? That's what you're sensing, and it is either good or it is bad. The one thing about this is if you don't know God and you don't have a relationship with God, the devil can come, and the dark kingdom of the devil can come, and his demons come as an angel of light, and you won't know the difference. The reason why I say that is because only God can give you his discernment, which is at greater, higher level in heights than the enemy, the adversary of our soul, the devil, that you will be able to discern that's not a good spirit. And people may say, oh, it's a ghost. Ghost, it's a spirit. Okay? That's what the place is, haunted. It's a spirit operating in there. All right? And you don't play around with those things. That's unhealthy. And literally, they do come to bring sickness and disease. They also come bringing fear, worry, doubt, and unbelief. So a lot of people are fearing. You don't want to stay in fear because fear is unhealthy. All right? Just like unforgiveness and bitterness is. As doctors and scientists have learned, they're late, because God has been saying this since man is in existence and had actually sinned against him, that fear, even before that fear is not from him. Fear can destroy you. Fear is not from him. It comes from the enemy of our soul, who comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And God said he sent Jesus to come to bring life and give that life and have that life more abundantly. Why are you talking about spiritual things, Lisa? Because your spirit is connected to your soul and your body. You can't live this life on earth without this earth suit, which is a body. You can't live this life on earth without the soul, which is your mind, your will, and your emotions. And you can't live on this earth without the spirit. You are a spirit. You are a spirit that lives in a soul that has a body. And before you came to this earth, God said, and I experienced this in an encounter that I had with God, you were sent on a mission to come to this earth as a spirit. God knew you before you were born and put you in your mother's womb and was given an assignment to you to do upon this earth. What is that assignment? It's up to you to find out. I had to find out. It's up to you to find out. What is that mission? It's up to you to find out. Okay? Because the assignments are different ones as we go along, but there is a mission, God said. And that is what he showed me. You are a spirit that lives in a body. This body is needed to exist on the earth. You have a soul. That is your mind and your will and your emotions. That is to align with me, so you know how to live out your life on the earth. And once you do that, you will also be able to, along with that, fulfill your mission. Do your mission. Go forth in your mission. And it's up to you to find out from me what your mission is. Me being God. So, all of it's connected. You can't have good health without having right in your spirit, right in your soul, and right in your body. It's just not going to happen, because they're all connected and they all get affected. And people say, well, I'm not spiritual, or whatever it is that you may believe or not believe, it does not change the truth. You are a spirit, which is the breath that came from God, breathed into your soul, body, that you could exist on this earth, sent through to your mother's womb, given a mission before putting your mother's womb, and your parents are supposed to be in that relationship with God so that they would know what this child's mission on this earth is and how to raise that child, not based on culture, not based on what family members did before, not based on the fact, well, this is how I feel and this is what I want. It's based on what God created you to do. So if God created you to be a doctor, then right now you should be a doctor if you're an adult. If God created you to be an artist, and it's all to be a blessing to people in the world and to make the world a better place according to what he says. Not what man says, not what your family says, not what your culture says, not what you think. According to what God says. Why is that important? Because he is the one who made it, and he knows more than everybody else. He says his thoughts are not our thoughts, his ways are not our ways. So if being that is true, you can believe it or not, being that is true, because I do believe that, it would stand to reason, like when you go and get a car from the car dealership, are you going to go and drive that car without understanding or knowing how to drive the car if you've never driven a car like that before or know anything about that car? Aren't you going to ask the car dealership, or aren't you going to ask the manufacturer, what about this vehicle? God made us. Why aren't you asking God about how to walk and live this life? There's going to be disappointments in life, folks. We live in a broken and dark and fallen world. Okay, so it's a farce. It is a fantasy to think that you can go through this life and that God's supposed to make everything so good that you never have ever a problem in life. That is unrealistic, because you live in a dark and broken and fallen world, and it's a cursed earth world system. There is no way that anybody on this earth is going to walk on this earth and not have problems, okay? And it's not for us to blame God for it. Well, he could have done something. He didn't do something. God did do something. He sent his son Jesus. He did it long time ago, and people are just rejecting what the gift, the free gift is. It's not religion. It's about relationship and understanding who you are, really, your identity, what you were created for, and what you're supposed to be doing. Some of you are supposed to be in science. Some of you are supposed to be teachers. There are people who are out here, mothers and fathers. You're not supposed to just be a mother at home. You're supposed to also be doing something else. Maybe mentoring and teaching other mothers, especially the younger generation, because the elder generation are supposed to teach the younger generation. There is no qualms about that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is how God designed it and made it. You're supposed to mentor younger people. You're supposed to teach younger people and teach them in the right way, because when we don't, whether we do good or not, we're held accountable for it in this life as well as in the life to come when we leave this earth. So being healthy, all three of those ways is important. All right. And then you have the physical part that you must do. as far as making sure that you not only get rest, that you're eating properly, that you're eating breakfast, that you're eating lunch, that you're eating dinner, and you're having healthy snacks in between. Now, the food that has been made by man now, we got a lot of genetically modified food, and genetically modified food changes the inside of people. You can't genetically modify something and it not affect the people that you're giving it to. Okay, so any place that anybody in government or any place else that says, oh, well, it's not a problem. Oh, it doesn't cause that much of an issue like they have on some milk and cheese. It's been tested and found that hormones actually do not cause that much of a problem. I'm just putting it in my own words. It doesn't cause that much of a problem in milk or in cheese for human consumption. That is a lie from the pit of hell. Hence why you see so many young people, especially girls who have big breasts, who look like they're full grown. Boys who look like they're full grown. Hormones being out of whack. Okay? And I can tell you this from experience of seeing this happen to young people, and from a doctor too that had gone to a conference that doctors go to, and one of these doctors who was a speaker got up and was speaking about hormones, talking about how much they have done wrong by the women in the United States of America by giving them the medicines that they were given concerning hormones and replacement therapy. We have been wrong. We have cost a lot of lives by doing that because we have not done our homework like we're supposed to. Haven't done right. All this synthetic hormone therapy is not healthy, regardless of what they tell you. And it's a push because there's medical pharmaceuticals that push it and try to say, just like every other medicine, oh, well, you may have some side effects. God did not give us a brain and give doctors a brain and give the professors a brain to make medicines to cause side effects that would be harmful to people. All right? He gave the brain. He gives the ability, all right, to create wealth, not man itself. Hence, COVID-19. Every man who was in office and in politics and doing the work, and even people in business, think that they were all in total control. You're not in total control. Now you can see that because you are not in total control over this virus. Okay? It's a pandemic. Everything had to be shut down. Where's your control now? Where's your control now? There is a revising and a renewal that has to happen on how things have been done. And, you know, there are some things that are happening that people are pushing that are not that great. That has to do with privacy and privacy of people. And that's with apps that they don't have to ask. All right. Because Google's been working with China and a couple of others to go ahead and bring these type of programs and these apps that will give them access to everybody's phone system to track you. You know about the social credit scoring in China. There's a lot more to it than just, you know, making sure that you're not littering on the ground and making sure that children go to school and aren't at home. It goes a lot deeper than that. And it's not healthy, it's not safe, and it violates privacy. It's basically government trying to be God. All right? That's basically what it is. And track you. And that to me is more like having slaves and a master. That is what that's like. I'm not being your slave, sorry. And neither should you be anybody's slave. Not to any government, not to anything. Okay? So when we take care of ourselves with the proper foods, get the proper rest, make sure you're drinking water, 8 ounces, half of your body weight in ounces, and it needs to be clean, pure water. The water in the United States is not all clean. Don't drink tap. You need to get good, pure water. Alkaline water is good because our body is supposed to be alkaline. It's supposed to be healthy. And sickness and disease cannot stay in an alkaline body. It just doesn't happen. All right? It doesn't work. And that's been proven. and you need to make sure that you are exercising. You can do 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night. You can walk, you can do the speed walk, not a stroll walk, but I mean a speed walk, so that you are gaining some cardio. Strengthening is good. You can work out at home. YouTube has a lot of videos, or you can order videos from wherever you would like to, or the websites that may have videos that are of different health instructors that you may want to be a part of their program. There's one program that I followed for years, and that is Leslie Sampson, and that is Walk Away the Pounds, which is good. You have people who are on there like Sandra, I think it's Desmond White, sorry, that does some of the Pilates she has. There are some of the things that she does is Tai Chi. I'm not into Tai Chi, but there are stretches that she does, that she teaches, that she's worked with athletes, professional athletes. She was a professional dancer, and so she's worked with dancers also. And some of her exercises help even for people who have had injuries, and anybody can do it. She's had people all the way up into their 90s that have done well from even former injuries and was having difficulty. And the stretches and the exercises that she does to work the whole body actually helps people become stronger. Some people lose the weight, and they are people who are more active. And it's good for seniors to be active because exercise helps to release healthy endorphins. It increases your brain activity for healthiness. It increases your lungs to be healthy. Okay. And it also gives you the energy and the boost that you need to work throughout the day. We were not created to be sedentary. We are supposed to exercise on a daily basis. We're not a society anymore that was mainly a lot of labor jobs, where it was in the earlier years of America, and people worked, so people were sweating and people had to walk. And, you know, even when they did take the train, people were still a little more active than we are now. Now there are people in this day and age, we do nothing but sit. And when I say we, I'm talking about humanity. Sitting behind a desk, working on a computer, or just standing in place all day. Neither one of those are healthy. You have to move because blood circulation is important. Oxygen is important. It is mainly important to get a break away from the daily work. 10 minutes, 2 breaks during the day is not enough. There may be people out there that are bosses that say, oh, well, we can't do that. You already have a lunch. You need more than that, okay? This is not, you're not to be a hard taskmaster with your employees. We're not machines. We're human beings. And that, in giving that, and that being said, you ought to treat us with respect in regards to all things. All right. We're not a machine. You're not supposed to go. That's why people have high blood pressure, sugar, diabetes, heart disease, and all other types of problems, and aggravation and frustration, and end up having a breakdown. You don't wait until your body breaks down. You take care of your body each and every day throughout the day. And that is a necessity for everyone. And so start it young, even with your children, because when you start that young, it creates a good habit, which are good habits you want to create in them to take with them before they go out into the world and they're on their own, or even when they're at school. You want to be active. So you can stay healthy. Make sure you are taking supplements. If you are somebody who is lacking in certain nutrients, speak to your physician. Find out whether you're getting the vitamin C and D and F and A and K and prebiotics and probiotics, omega-6s that you need, the omega-3s rather, that you need to be healthy. The healthy oils, stay away as much as possible from refined foods, refined sugar, processed food, and refined oils, okay? Organic oils are best, the best oils. You can use the coconut oil, avocado oil, vegetable oil, corn oil, canola oil. They're not good. Even the safflower oil, you have to remember that these are things that are highly inflammatory. Sugar is highly inflammatory. The oils, the refined oils, and those specific ones are highly inflammatory. Olive oil is best. Coconut oil is best. And avocado oil is best. If you don't need to use oil, don't use it. But you do need the omega-3s. You can get that also from fish, especially salmon, because it is a necessity. It's needed for the brain. It's needed for our body, for our hair, for our skin. We need these things, folks. And so it's important that we make right choices. It's very easy to run into the store and go down those middle aisles and pick all the processed foods just to have something quick to put on and get out of the way. But you're costing yourself as time goes on, because it costs more money to be sick than it does to be healthy. Do the math, okay? It costs in time and energy. It costs in life skill, quality of life. It costs in medicine and visits to the doctor. It costs in gas. All right. It costs in mental and emotional. Come on. If you're going to go ahead and spend money on organic food, you take all those 8 things that I just spoke of and anything else you can think of that causes unhealthiness. All right. When it comes to co-pays and medicines and transportation, you got to pay for, you got to travel, you got to get gas. You have to have the paperwork you may need. So you may have to go and get paperwork from somewhere else. That's time and money, and the quality of life, especially with your family. All right. Especially with your family, the quality of life. So it is good to be healthy during this time. Find something to be joyful about. You know, children laugh more than adults, and that is really sad. Health is good when you're laughing, and that has been proven by scientists and doctors already. God says laughter makes the heart good, does the heart good like medicine, and it's true, because they've done the test of people who have laughed and people who are joyful. And I'm going to tell you one test by a Dr. Ikeo Holman, and she was an atheist. She was a scientist, studied real hard, and she did a study with another doctor and scientist. She studies the brain and the body too, but mostly the brain. And both of them had a radio transmitter. What are those radios that you can see the finger go from one side to negative and the other side positive? And so they had 2 patients that were in the hospital. And they did this experiment where they wanted to see how people's response emotionally affected their health. And so they put this machine in that room. There was one guy who was always cursing. He was nasty. He was mean to people, to the doctors and the nurses. And there was another lady. She was a Christian, and she was joyful. She had